once said, the size of your dreams must always exceed your current capacity to achieve them. If your dreams do not scare you, they are not big enough. And the president of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, said, we have to be impatient in moving Africa forward. So we need ambition and we need urgency. I've quoted this Chinese proverb before, but it bears repeating. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And to move that from the abstract into application, we need an entrepreneurial mindset, curiosity, opportunity recognition, a growth mindset, problem solving, and an action orientation, among other traits. It is frequently spoken about that by 2035, less than 15 years or 5,000 days from today, Africa will have the largest and youngest workforce in the world. And if by current numbers, even a third of this workforce is not productively engaged and unable to access the economy, the resultant political instability, security risk, mass migration, and poverty of this group of more than 300 million unemployed African youth would be unimaginable. And women, as they do now, will continue to bear the harshest brunt of all these challenges. So we don't have time to waste. We have to stop complaining or looking around for someone else to sort it out. We need to roll up our sleeves and get to work. While the young will inherit the earth, it is still the experienced who will need to provide guidance. And hence, AfriJam. We want to expose our community to the reality of where we are as a continent and what we need to do to get us on the right trajectory. And we want to trigger and catalyze pride in and learning from the inspirational Africans, including local change makers who will join us and share their experiences and wisdom. These are people like you and I, some who have less, some who have more, but who recognize the challenges, assess the risks, and stepped up with solutions. We want you to be inspired, to be challenged, to be charged with this mission, but to still find your uniqueness, your opportunity, and your voice to boldly give expression to your particular idea. By truly recognizing and engaging with the innovation, the chutzpah, and the entrepreneurial energy available on the continent, we hope that you will feel empowered, that we have what we need to solve Africa's problems. Recently, President Paul Kagame of Rwanda stated, "We have understood for a long time that you can't cure poverty without democracy. The only cure is through business, entrepreneurship, and innovation." And he further went on to say that he would rather argue that we need to mobilize the right mindsets rather than more funding. After all, in Africa, we have everything we need in real terms. Whatever is lacking, we have the means to acquire. And yet we remain mentally married to the idea that nothing can get moving without external finance. We're even begging for things that we already have. That is absolutely a failure of mindset. Africa presents one of the fastest growing consumer markets in the world. The opportunities are huge. She is home to a middle-income population of more than 330 million citizens, and consumer expenditure on the continent has grown at an annual rate of 4%. Of course, the levels of inequality are high, and that provides a whole list of problems to be solved with some enterprising solution. We also know that Africa is currently home to 9 of the 20 fastest growing countries in the world. So I don't want to paint a rosy picture. It's not like everyone becomes entrepreneurs and all our problems are solved. But if we don't learn, work, and live differently, if we don't change our thinking and actions, we're going to continue to perpetuate existing problems. We need to strongly assert to ourselves that our past and even current challenges are not going to define our future. We are a defiant, powerful, and resilient people. Remember, a boy who used to herd cattle in a little-known village became known as Madiba, a woman who was forced to work as a child, survived an abusive marriage and breast cancer, gave us Pata Pata, and a boy who grew up in an Eastern Cape township playing with a brick as a toy and had lost his mom at 15, went on to captain a World Cup winning South African rugby team. Greatness exists all around us, and it doesn't only start in beautiful surroundings or advantageous circumstances. Greatness is often born or incubated in adversity. Many ordinary people have distinguished themselves despite, or maybe because of their difficulties. So who are you to not succeed? In closing, I want to remind you that the foundation believes in you, is there to support you, and will help shine a light on the possibilities, because we believe, as Mr. Gray did when he set this foundation up, that individuals like yourselves, individuals of passion, courage, integrity, and innovation will be at the forefront of the socio-economic transformation of this region, and specifically in building the prosperity of our nation through high impact and ethical entrepreneurial leadership. I wish you all a fun and insightful AfriJam. Thank you for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome onto screen your keynote speaker for the day, Kizito Okechukwu.
So with that, I have the huge pleasure to now introduce our keynote speaker, Kizito Okechukwu, who is the Managing Director of GEN South Africa and the co-chair of GEN Africa, leading the development of the Global Entrepreneurship Network throughout the continent. In 2017, he was successful in partnering with the South African Ministry of Small Business Development and the City of Johannesburg to bring the Global Entrepreneurship Congress to Johannesburg, the first time the event had ever been held in Africa. He is an MBA graduate, has traveled and worked with key public and private firms in more than 30 African countries. He's also executive head of 22 on Sloan, Africa's largest startup campus based in Johannesburg. And he's the vice president of Digital Africa. He's a resolutely Pan-African young Nigerian who has no lack of ambition for African companies and more broadly for the continent. And he is a friend. So please join me in welcoming Kizito, who will give a keynote address on digitalization. Thank you.
I know it's getting late. Baby, and I want you to know. Baby, I know it's
Hello, everyone. Thank you to Yogi for that introduction. Yogi is a friend, and we've also worked together in the past, so thank you very much for also inviting me for this occasion, for this experience. And thank you for that wonderful speech that you made. I think today's, the AfriJam session this year is all about how do we create an experience that we are all proud of, you know? And how do we build an Africa, like Yogi said, quoting the president of AFDB, an Africa where we are impatient, but also an Africa where we do things with urgency. And that is an Africa we want to build. That is an Africa that we all wish to live in. And that is an Africa that we all also wish that our kids and so on grow up in. So I will start with my presentation. So I received a letter to present on digitalization. And I must say, when I received it, I asked my colleague, this is Alan Gray, didn't they make a mistake? Is it digitalization or digitization? And I wanted to reply back to say, I think you made a mistake, it's digitization. And I must say, it's my first time hearing the word digitalization. So I've always thought it's digitization, and maybe it's the same for all of you. But we got to school ourselves on that because we've been mistaken over the past few months or years. So I'll start with introducing myself. So Kizito, I work at 22 on Sloan, leading a team of experts that are supporting the startups that are there at Sloan. And it's a startup campus that incubates startups, but also we have an accelerator that supports startups. It's also a co-working space. And we try to be an enabler for the entrepreneurship ecosystem. And then 22 on Sloan is part of Global Entrepreneurship Network. It was launched in partnership with Jen. Global Entrepreneurship Network is based in Washington, D.C., operating in 160 countries globally, and running various programs, supporting entrepreneurship ecosystem, and helping startups to start and scale. Then there is the Global Entrepreneurship Network Africa, which is in 42 countries, which is supported by Gen Global. So now let's talk of the difference between digitization and digitalization. And I'll make it very easy for you because I've also known that they are two distinct words. So digitization, basically a paper, you scan it and you digitize it and you put it in your computer and store it there. That is it. But then digitalization looks at the processes we use to do things that we do. And I will focus more on in the agriculture space. So think of digitalization as you wanna run, let me give a good example of this with something that is here in front of us. But let me give a good example. So a farmer that is farming in Umtata has 20 hectares. These 20 hectares, the farmer cannot really go in each of these, in the farm to be able to spray the crops, to be able to check on the crops, to be able to know which crop is good, which one is bad, and so on. So what digitalization helps the farmer is to say, okay, I will be able to actually create a system that will be able to tell me the time to plant the crop, the time to harvest, and also which crops are good enough to go to market and which crops needs to be put in a bin or something like that, you know? So digitalization is basically what we do every day. It's all about how we use technology to assist us in processing our businesses, our lives, and so on. So it's basically how technology has made our lives very easy. And we use it every day, using our mobile phones, and so on, and so on. Then I want to play a video which will focus on startups in Nigeria. It's an interview that was done in CNN a few days ago by a good friend of mine running a Wonderville, running a company called Wonderville Media, looking at supporting startups in the agriculture space in Nigeria. So Nigerian startups are currently looking at various opportunities also to support farmers in Nigeria to be able to digitize their products, to be able also to reimagine agriculture, to be able to think digital farming also, and to be able to think how best they can efficiently and effectively run their operations in their farm. So maybe let's play the video. Thank you.
That grow it. Demand for food.
Aí digitalisou.
Digitize.
Okay, we have an issue with the video, so maybe let's go to the next slide. So So how does farming look differently when we use various digital tools? So a lot of you will know the unmanned area vehicles like drones, how many farms are also using drones to be able to do surveillance in the farm, to be able to know, to be able even to spray the crops also in the farm. So if you have a 20 hectare, 50 hectare farm, it's very difficult for you to do this manually. So many farmers now with technology such as UAV, they're now using that to also spray in the farms. And then you have a technology such as the GPS-enabled tractors that are now helping also farmers to look at the nutrients that the crops need. When do you have to put a manure? Which crops need this? When do you harvest the crops? When do you water the crops? And so on and so on. And then the United Nations have estimated, so this is now the importance of food. The United Nations have estimated that we will need to increase food production by 50% by the year 2050 to meet the increasing demand of food around the world. But also, then when you look at that, then one will also see various opportunities that exist in the agriculture space, that exist for young startup, for young farmers to be able to enter the space. And it's no longer, sometimes now I call it farming with style. You know, it's no longer how our fathers used to do it, with big boots, the sun hitting you every day, and you are in the farm the whole day. So today, like I said, there are various tools that also assist farmers to remotely even monitor their crop, to remotely look at soil composition, to remotely look at weather conditions. There are also technologies that will also assist farmers to gather and analyze in-field data that will help them make decisions. But also, there are also technologies that will help with providing crops with exact nutrients that they need to be able to grow. Looking into the future, what does the future look like? There are now technologies that are being developed that are now focusing on, one of them is also the one that exists already, the geo-tracking device that I mentioned, but also there are also technologies that are now being developed that will also help farmers to be able to analyze, to be able to even know the season to plant the crops, the season to harvest it, and also the crops, like I mentioned earlier, the crops to take to market, but also the crops to get rid of. Some startups that have harnessed digital farming technology to support farmers. I think many of us know Aerobotics, which is a Cape Town startup that is now also gone global, and they use their intelligent tools to actually predict harvest, but also help farmers to be able to make decisions even on what products will be good when they're harvested, what products won't be good, and what products needs to be taken to market. And some of you, and I think recently, earlier this year, Aerobotics raised $70 million to be able to expand to other countries on the continent. Then I think we also know the startup. It's a Johannesburg-based startup called Kula, which recently raised $1.3 million. Sadly, we didn't invest in Kula. They pitched in 2017 when we launched, and we didn't see the vision then, but they saw it. And they said, I'm happy for them, but it's great to see how they've also grown. And the tools and platform that they're using to actually support the agri-ecosystem. Because from the farmer to the buyer, the farmer can easily see where to take the products to. The buyers also can also look at opportunities to select from different farmers which goods that they need to take to market. And then Urban Grown, this is one of the startups that we invested in 2015. They currently now supply Pick and Pay, your food lovers, and so on. So from cabbages to baby marrows to tomatoes and so on. So it's a startup that's also grown. They use a technology, it's an online technology called Field Margin. They use Field Margin to monitor soil conditions. They use Field Margin to look at daily farming activity, which includes, which also has a very high advanced technology that looks at helping sort out, like I mentioned earlier. For instance, they do tomatoes, so this technology helps them sort out good versus bad tomatoes. And then finally, I'm moving away from agriculture, but I just want to put this startup on the map. But it's also a startup that is supporting digital financial inclusion in Africa, and it's Mexicash. So Mexicash focuses on doing remittances across the continent. And I must say, they joined us in around 2018. And when they joined us, their transactions was around $10,000 that they were doing. So from 2018 to now, Mexicash is now reached around 800 million rands in transaction in the past 3 years. So it's a startup we should all be proud of, and they are still based at our campus at Sloan. It's a startup run by Rudy and Tanya. So in ending, I would say, what is next for us? And I think in our communities, in our environment that we live in, we should think, how do we efficiently and effectively build the communities we live in? The township economy is very important in this. How do we ensure that how do we ensure that, for instance, if you look at the townships and look at sometimes the SMMEs that are there, the spaza shops, the ordering of goods, the collection of the goods, the delivery of the goods, and so on. And I know there are a few startups now that are venturing in those industries, but also how do we ensure that we build a stronger township economy that is supporting its community? But also, how do we ensure that our country, the African continent, does not stay back from digitalization? I know that there are a lot of comments around the continent to say we have much better problems to worry about. But digitalization is actually the prime problem, is the first problem we have to worry about, because if we don't do that, we are left behind on the continent. We are left behind in terms of competing with our peers around the globe. So we need to use these sessions, the AfriJam session, to inspire young people to create solutions to African problems. And like Yogi said, it's African solutions that we need to create. It's the Wakanda project that we need to create, or we need to aspire to. It's an Africa where we can all live in and be inspired. It's an Africa where we all live in and be proud of it. And also, in ending, I must say, we must limit the brain drain that is also happening, because more and more, because of slow pace of transformation, of digital transformation in Africa, and we are also losing a lot of talents. A lot of our startups, they start in Johannesburg, in Cape Town, but then the next thing, they are based in San Francisco. And how do we ensure that we create a stronger ecosystem that support these startups, that also keep the IP of young African startups on the continent? And that is what we need to do, and that is what I believe Alan Gray is doing. And I must thank you again, Yogi, for inviting me. I must thank you for the support Alan Gray is also giving to the fellows, the alumni. A lot of the people also that I meet at Sloan today that are applying, some of them are alumni of Alan Gray. So well done on the job you're doing. And I thank you, and I thank also Butler for inviting me for this presentation. I hope I was able to differentiate with you or share properly the difference between digitalization, and then also digital transformation, which is now implementing all this into your company, into your business, and so on. So thank you very much, and I wish you a lovely afternoon session. Thank you.
Hello, AfriJam 2021. My name is Sharvana Sky Naidu, and I'm a Year Explore social rep. I am so excited to be part of an event that has stepped out of the bounds of South Africa and expanded to the whole of Africa. What AfriJam means to me is an opportunity to see and hear the extraordinary insights, perspectives, and experiences from across Africa. It is more than just an event. It is a chance to put that age-old saying, better together, to practice, and to connect with the rest of this beautiful continent. This year, I am really looking forward to the range of masterclasses on offer, the awesome speakers and presenters that have been lined up, and of course, the interesting and innovative pitches and business ideas presented by my peers. Hashtag AfriJam 2021, here we come.
And I want you to know.
Hi, and welcome to AfriJam 2021. This year's Jamboree is the first of its kind, taking collaboration to the next level. I personally am excited to network outside the borders of South Africa from the comfort of my own home. This is yet another opportunity for us to learn culture, morale, and elevate our entrepreneurship skills, all from each other as African countries. Also, good luck to all of those that are pitching this year.
Hi everybody, my name is Nicola van Tellingen, and along with Kayla Barnes, I am one of the 2 social reps for Your Equip. I'm super excited about this year's AfriJam because I think it's a really intentional way to remove the Western lens with which we often approach societal problems and how we try to create solutions through social entrepreneurship in Africa. Moreover, I'm super excited to get to connect with all of you and all of my fellow candidate fellows again this year. I think in the COVID circumstances, AfriJam presents us with a great opportunity to speak to each other again, to virtually meet new people, make new connections, and potentially come out of this experience with partners in business and social ventures going forward. So here's to a wonderful AfriJam, and I'm super excited to engage with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Pesihle Mkhunu, a candidate fellow at Allen Gray Orbis Foundation, Year Experience. This year's theme for AfriJam is about inspiring young Africans to solve African problems through digitalization, collaboration, and sustainability. And what this means to me is that there is a great shift from other areas of investment, and investment is now focused on inspiring and equipping young people to advance the economy of Africa. One thing that I'm looking forward to in this event is learning different insights and being able to practically apply these insights in my daily life and my business. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
And you don't want no way.
Hi guys, hello to all our participants, our candidate fellows, scholars. It would be so nice to see you in person. But anyways, my name is Kiara Bo. I'm one of the social reps for Your Engage. Wow, AfriJam, another DigiJam, guys. Create your experience. This theme for me means finding your niche, being authentic, unique, making entrepreneurship your personal story. What I'm looking forward to this year is definitely the keynote speakers. I always walk away feeling like a different person, as well as our competitors. I'm interested to see the business ideas that we have this year. And lastly, but definitely not least, the entertainment. Last year was impeccable. I'm so excited to see everybody digitally, and yeah.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to Jamboree 2021. It's been a year already. Can you believe it? This year we're going bigger. It's all about AfriJam. And for me, AfriJam is all about taking Africa to the world in our authentic sense of humanity by allowing ourselves to be driven by Ubuntu, so that whatever we learn over the next few days, we actually go out there and implement it in such a way that no one, and I mean no no one is left behind in the process. I am particularly looking forward to the master classes. I look forward to engaging with everyone from scholarship level all the way to association. It really can't get any better than this. Let's have fun!
Hey everybody, I'm quite excited about this year's Jamboree theme, which is AfriJam, speaking to collaboration, sustainability and digitalization. As we know, these are the key things that the continent needs right now. Besides this being the first for the foundation to collaborate continentally, I look forward to the impact that this experience is going to bring to our continent through our program participants. So yes, I see the prizes, I see the keynote speakers, the master classes, the entertainment and the all, but the impact that's going to come after. So that's what I really look forward to. And see you there. Don't forget to join the pre-sessions that happen before the actual jam.
Hi AfriJammers, this is Zindi here. I am so excited for this year's Africa Jamboree, inspiring young Africans to solve problems for Africa. I'm looking forward even more to hearing what homegrown solutions have been brought for our homegrown problems. And I'm looking forward to learning and being inspired at AfriJam this year and taking something away that will also help me to find solutions for the problems in my own space. I look forward to seeing you guys there. I look forward to the engagement and seeing some of the talent that we have at the foundation. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it and learn something from it. Have a good one.
Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Our theme this year is AfriJam, and what that means for me is us exploring innovation and collaboration across the African continent and discovering how our heritage can help propel us to be global leaders in the entrepreneurship space. What I'm really excited about at this year's AfriJam is seeing our program participants being courageous and pitching their business ideas.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto screen Sinazo Maqezu.
Molweni, and a good afternoon to you all. I am connecting from the beautiful mother city, Cape Town. I am Sinazo Maqezu, and I am a program officer here at Ellen Gray Obis Foundation. It is such an honor to be your co-host today, and the vibe is amazing, the studio crew is amazing. Please get your snacks out. Some of you may have finished them already, but it's about time to buckle up, let's have fun. You all know how it goes at the foundation. One thing about the Ellen Gray Obis Foundation events, we always top 2, honey, and never number 2 on the list. A huge thank you to our CEO, Yogi, for that wonderful welcome to AfriJam. And please do let us know which points were your highlights from what we just heard. And remember, there are vouchers up for grabs. So tonight, we've got 6 1,000 Rand take-a-lot vouchers up for grabs. I repeat, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 take-a-lot vouchers up for grabs. So please do head onto your Twitter page. Let us know what you've learned so far, what your sentiments have been, and make sure that you tag the foundation page. And hashtag for today is digitalization, AfriJam, and create your experience. You know, from my end, I genuinely cannot tell you how excited we are on our side. It is quite an honor to be able to absorb all of this information and inspiration here at AfriJam as young Africans wanting to make a difference. And, you know, with all the trying and tribulations that we've been through in the past couple of years, it's true that at this moment in time, it's really not about overlooking any opportunities. This is the time to take on all the opportunities that come your way. And with that in mind, we would like to invite Charlene Duncan, who will take us through to our master classes. Charlene Duncan is the head of programs here at Ellen Gray Obis Foundation. Her current role is to lead direct, and develop our senior leadership team from fellowship to scholarship to alumni and IJEC program management. And this is typically achieved through strategy formulation, talent management, as well as just ensuring, operational excellence. But before Charlene joined our beautiful EGO family, she was a director for the Center of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the University of the Western Cape. Now, CEI is active in developing short courses and entrepreneurship training programs at UWC. And in fact, it's had its footprint across all 7 faculties. One of Charlene's highlights at UWC was creating the first ever in South Africa design, entrepreneurship, and textile incubator. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling so inspired about all of this. Charlene has also worked for the World Health Organization, for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, while she was at the South African Medical Research Council. In 2020, she obtained her master's, and wait for it, with cum laude in development studies, specializing in the informal economy. Over to you, Charlene.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto screen Charlene Duncan.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very, very much for that really warm welcome. I'm super excited to be part of AfriJam 2021. This entrepreneurial event caters for all our program participants. It is the greatest festival of ideas. It's a great space to learn, and I think an even better space to gain real, great inspiration for entrepreneurial development, both in terms of our journey and our mindset. What a build-up it's been to this event, and what a great journey for all program participants as well as talent. I've been in absolute awe just to experience the energy, the vibe, and all of the excitement around bringing you AfriJam 2021. It is indeed an honor for me to head up such an amazing team of individuals, and equally amazing to be able to engage with program participants at the level that we do. To all the program participants today that are listening, I want to encourage you to keep building your entrepreneurial journeys, to keep investing in who you are, to keep looking at how, from a self-mastery perspective, you can really get to understand who you are and really add value right where you find yourselves. Keep building those entrepreneurial mindsets. We heard our CEO and our keynote speaker speak about the importance of entrepreneurship. And today, I really want to encourage you to continue having those aspirations towards developing those entrepreneurial mindsets. Thank you for giving me and affording me this opportunity to be able to introduce the 2021 Masterclass sessions for AfriJam. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about digitalization and introduce the 6 masterclasses for today. And on Saturday, we'll be looking at sustainability and the importance of sustainability as we begin to build African solutions for Africa. Now, before I talk about what digitalization means, we've had some insight both from our CEO and from the keynote speaker. I wanted to just sketch a scenario for you, a practical scenario about why I think digitalization is important. It is widely recognized that digitalization is one of the most powerful tools for implementing the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, as well as Africa's agenda for 2063. And so I'm going to go through, just as I was explaining to you, I wanted to sketch some scenarios. I'm just going to highlight 6 scenarios as to why I think it's important for our program participants to apply their thinking to the importance of digitalization. Digital applications drive socio-economic transformations. That's the first insight I'd like to share. Secondly, it increases efficient production and distribution of goods and services. It opens new opportunities, new income generation opportunities for millions of poor people. It enhances connectivity between people, societies, governments, and organizations. And yes, our theme for AfriJam 2021 is inspiring young Africans like all of you who are listening here today, to solve problems for Africa. Now let's just pause for a moment and think about our own personal journeys as we embarked on COVID-19 about 18 months ago, and think about how we had to become agile, think about our resilience, think about our innovative natures that had to almost come about so that we could just navigate day-to-day activities. And I want us to think about how we could. I want us to think about that yes we can mindset. And I want to encourage each of you, as I again want to repeat the theme for AfriJam 2021, that all those solutions for Africa lies within each one of you. So I'm going to repeat the theme one more time. It is about inspiring young Africans like yourselves. Reflect on the journey of resilience, reflect on the journey of hope, reflect on the journey of innovation. You have it within you to be able to solve the problems for Africa. And so with that as a backdrop, we're wanting to introduce you to the 6 masterclasses for today. And the masterclasses are quite intentional to be able to help you to shape your thinking around digitalization, to shape the way you think so that you're able to proactively engage in the narrative, change the narrative, and contribute towards the narrative, so that you can create a voice for yourself and that you can play an active role in that 2063 agenda for Africa and contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. So as I mentioned, there will be 6 master classes, and I'm just going to really highlight, I'm not going to go into each of the areas in great detail, but the first one is around the power of digital storytelling. The second one is how has African businesses bridged the digital divide. The third one, deep fakes and the future content of creation. The fourth one, let's discover the wonders of coding. And then Africans funding African startups, I quite like that one. And then the role of AI in growing your business. And as I said, my hope for all of the program participants today, as you engage in this masterclasses, is to go in there with a mindset ready to explore and ready to take on the concept of digitalization. Find your voice and unwrap your mind and your entrepreneurial thinking so that you can be aligned to the agenda of digitalization. You can find a voice and you can actively contribute to the narrative. Thank you very much, and please do enjoy the space to engage and grasp with some of those concepts around digitalization. Thank you, everybody.
summertime. Swear to God, all I wanna do is be right next to you. Just unwind. Forget about the paper chase and be right next to you. Girl. Paradise. Every moment that we share gon' be that special time. It's so easy. Loving you is like a summer breeze. It's too easy. It's too easy, girl. 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 So ready to give you everything. I'm so ready to love you tenderly. So ready to give you everything. I'm so ready, so ready. I'm ready for ya. Are you ready for me? I'm gonna love you. I'm ready for ya. Are you ready for me? I'm gonna love you. I'm ready for ya. time it's ready, I'll give my all. Cause reality is a dream to me when you play that song. If there is such a place.
And now we're joined by the dynamic powerhouse, Nozipho Chabalala. And recently we just learned that she's a great dancer too.
Apparently I can pass off as a 2000. What did we do? We take it from here?
Yeah.
And then we lift it? And then hey, guys, how did I do?
I think you could still pass off at TSC one of these nights, yeah?
Awesome.
But most of you guys can remember her from last year's epic dialogue session. So as I've just said, Nozipho, you were here last year. What are you most excited about for this year's AfriJam?
You know, what really excites me is the opportunity for us to pause and have what I call consequential conversations. These are conversations where young people get the opportunity to roll up their sleeves, take action in their respective spaces, in their respective communities. There's nothing that I hate more than a conversation with no consequence. And when I look at digitalization, collaboration, and sustainability, I get excited because I know that this is all about actually doing something and taking action.
Wow. I feel so inspired by just hearing you being right here. And I know that more people like who are watching today are so inspired by you and your journey, especially at such a young age. So can you just tell us what inspires you?
Sure, it's such a big question. And I think at the heart of it and at the core of it is just a belief that my life matters and that I'm here for a reason and there's a purpose that I need to fulfill. And so I wake up every day and I ask myself, what am I going to do today that is going to live up to the promise of my purpose? I believe right now at the stage of my life, I'm here to advance consequential conversations that drive development for Africa and the world. And that's what I wake up to do every single day, to serve those conversations, to start those conversations, to be provocative in those conversations, because my time here matters.
Wow, that was so inspiring. And how can we follow you? How can we follow your purpose and your journey and be really more inspired every single day?
Absolutely. I think, in this day and age with digitalization, we've got social media at The Real Nosy across all platforms. But also, I think every now and then is to actually try and dial into some of those conversations. I mean, the world has changed so much. I was just thinking the other day, for me to go to the World Economic Forum, I needed firstly to be invited to Davos, I needed to be in the right network, and I needed a flight ticket to Switzerland and back. Now, I need a link and my laptop and a little bit of data, and I can be a part of the conversation. So to all the young people, what I want to say is that the conversation has been destaged, and you have voice, and you can exercise that voice. So plug into those spaces, use that voice, and for me, that's more important than following me. It's following the conversation.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Nozipho, and we are so excited to hear more from you. But for now, we'll catch you in a bit on the main stage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now we can welcome Tepo back from the bench. Come, friend. How's the bench? Tell us, how's the bench?
So, no, quite inspiring, eh? But I must say, I felt a bit jealous when you were dancing with Nozipho. I thought we were partners. So, what's our dance?
I don't know. Okay,
one, two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
no.
It's okay.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Maybe next time, yeah.
So, in fact, Kwandi, I just wanted to ask you, how are you finding the event so far? So, in fact, we've been here for a couple of hours. It's really, the energy is great in studio. Tell the people, how are we feeling right now? What's the energy like? How are you finding it?
We are so excited. And if you are here on stage with us in studios, you will see the energy is almost tangible. Like, we are well fed, we are well nourished, and we are well energized. How are you finding it, Zeppo?
Oh, listen, it's so inspiring for me. I think just being a part of such an event, the fact that it's still day one, and already I'm feeling like, oh my word, when was I ever going to get an opportunity to be at an event like this? But we hope you guys enjoy that amazing masterclass on digital democracy and entrepreneurship. It really is such a privilege to be able to sit in on a conversation and be able to unpack, ways that we can use technology to better the future of Africa and our people, right? So please let us know what stuck out to you the most. And hey, while we're at it, let us know how you're finding AfriJam so far and what are you most excited about next, right? So up next, we have a dialogue session about the new frontier for Africa, facilitated by the ever-inspiring Nozipho Chabalala.
Now, the dialogue session will focus on harnessing the power of collaboration and digitalization. Nozipho Chabalala is the CEO of the Conversation Strategist, which is a firm that focuses on consequential conversations on a global platform. She describes the firm as one that gives smart people a way to have simple conversations that will change the world. And now we will pass the baton on to Nozipho and the other speakers to take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your speakers for today's dialogue session. Bradley Watrous, Chibet Chukumbu, Kachinzama, Monica Musonda, and the facilitator, Nozipho Chabalala.
Thank you so much, Kwandi and Tsepo, for such a gracious introduction. As always, it's always a privilege and an honor to be here. I always say I get my cool cred every time I come to AfriJam, and I keep it until the very next year. Now, the conversation we want to have is we want to go to the bleeding edge of the new frontier for Africa. And we really want to ask the question, how are young people sustainably solving problems in their communities, in their spaces, harnessing the power of collaboration and harnessing digitalization? Now, you've just seen my panelists coming up on screen, but I want to tell you a little bit more about them. Sitting right next to me, let me start there, is Kachizama. Now, we saw Kachi, she was introduced as an intra-Africa travel blogger, but a couple of things you might not know about Kachi. She's an open water swimmer and a scuba diver, passionate about using digital media to advocate for community tourism, an award-winning travel blogger, a TV presenter, and that has traveled to over 35 countries in Africa and counting. I mean, the last I checked, Kachi, we're on like 54, 55 countries. 55. 55, so we're almost there.
We're almost there, yes.
So I'm really excited to chat to Kachi. But joining us from Cape Town, Chibet is joining us in our Cape Town studio. She is, of course, the regional director for Southern and East Africa at Global Citizen. Listen to this. So Chibet leads an all-woman team focused on youth development across Africa, solving big issues like education and literacy on the continent. She joined Global Citizen in 2018. This is at the time, remember when Beyonce graced our shores for Mandela 100, and she has stayed on and is now responsible for the organizational strategy. She provides oversight for staff and major activities, and she manages the key relationships in the region. So Chibet, it's so amazing to have you with us, dialing in from Cape Town. So let's go to Zambia now. Remember that Monica Musonda has just been introduced as part of our conversation. She's the founder and CEO of Java Foods. She's a corporate lawyer turned entrepreneur. We're going to talk about that. And is also an angel investor. And she's going to have to give us a little bit of insight around some of her investment activities as well. She is described as a powerhouse, as one of the very few women who are involved in manufacturing at a scalable level. So we're talking large-scale manufacturing. So it's really amazing that Monica is able to be with us today. Now, finally, let's go off the continent for a second. Let's go to Bradley. Bradley is actually in Dublin, in Ireland right now. We heard, of course, that he's the co-founder and CFO of Yoko, but in case you didn't know, he's also an Alan Gray Fellow. Now, Bradley looks after the CFO function, but this is after having built up the banking relationships, the legal and the regulatory setup, risk and finance operations. Apparently, Bradley says that one of the things that fires him up the most is making impact access to financial tools in the context of small business. So really, when we talk about being at the bleeding edge of the new frontier for Africa, these are the kind of voices that we want to hear from. So I'm going to come to Kachi first because you're closest to me. Why do you travel? And I'm sure this must be a question that you've been asked many times. Why do you think it's important for young Africans to travel? What kind of problems do you think that just by seeing the continent and traveling in the continent, that could help us solve?
Well, so I travel, and I always tell people this. I travel because for me, travel is freedom. There is no greater freedom than being on the road, having no responsibility except just figuring out where am I going to sleep or eat. But I wanted to travel because there's so much misinformation or lack of information about being an African. And I wanted to know more. And if I wanted access to the continent, at the time, I couldn't digital the way we are working with digital and connecting to the rest of the world was not something that was possible. So I had to literally get up and go to all those different countries so I could make those networks. And that's how I started.
I think it's such an incredible response because what it says to us is that when we travel, we see more. And when we see more, we have a better sense of the challenges, but also how some of those challenges are interconnected, and the opportunities to solve them. Now, I do want to say to everyone, guys, I don't want to hog these amazing people to myself. So please use the Q&A function on the platform. Send me questions and comments, and I'm not making promises, but I'm going to try my very best to bring your voice into the conversation as well. So, Monica, let's come to you, and I'm interested in that transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. What inspired you to take that leap of faith and to make that jump and really then begin to look at Java Foods? What was that inspiration and how did you lean in to the invitation?
Sure. Really, first of all, really great to be here. And I love all the work that you're doing. So interesting, my journey began, I'm actually a corporate lawyer. I studied, I did the right thing. You know, your parents want you to go to law school, be a doctor. I did that. And I worked for 16 years before I realized actually it wasn't my passion. And I was living in many different countries around the world, working in corporate law and really not enjoying it. And then realizing every time I went home to see my parents that something was happening in my home country, but without me. It was really about thinking about what I wanted to do for myself, for my country, and really change things at home. Because in Zambia, we have a lot of international brands, international businesses, but very few Zambian businesses. And I thought to myself, perhaps that was where I could play. And I must say this, I had no background in manufacturing, in retail, in distribution, in marketing. I was a straight corporate lawyer. That is what I studied. But I still was able to challenge myself to take a leap and to learn by doing. I didn't have to go to business school. The market taught me some bitter lessons, but I was, really encouraged by the fact that there's a lot you can do at home to change the environment and to actually get people to love what you do and the products that you make. I've been doing this now almost 9 years. It's still been a struggle, still trying to learn how to operate in a very male-dominated environment, but we're winning, hey? My brands are brands that people know and appreciate, and I'm so grateful that we can now export into the region as well. So it's been a great journey, not without difficulty, but very rewarding.
Monica, that's so powerful because it actually builds quite nicely on what Kachi said. I'm hearing you talk about you had to see the world for you to realize that you needed to come back home and actually be part of the solution at home, which I think is absolutely powerful. The other thing that I'm taking from what you're saying, Monica, is that it's not everything that requires us to go the traditional route of learning. It is about an openness to learn from every experience and to take that learning into every single problem that you are confronted with. I love the idea that you talk about how you're still in a difficult space. And it just reminds me of a book by Ryan Holiday called The Struggle is the Way. And Ryan says to us, we've got to love problems because that's what people who are solution-oriented do. They love problems. So let's go to Bradley, who's also in the business of solving problems. Bradley, what was your spark for you to transition from management consulting to entrepreneurship? What is the invitation for you?
Thank you, for the invitation to be here as well. I guess very similar themes coming up, which is great. I was working in Johannesburg, grew up in Johannesburg, and was working there for Monitor Group, a consulting firm. And I also just received an invite on LinkedIn and a phone call from someone who said Rocket Internet are setting up an operation in Cape Town, and they'd like me to consider joining the team. And I remember kind of being unsure about this. I was very early in my career at Monitor Group. But I got on a plane and flew down to Cape Town, looked at the offices, and then got back to Joburg. I phoned my brother and I said to him, I've got this opportunity. What should I do? And he said, just do it. And it was probably the best advice I've ever got, because 3 weeks later, I was in Cape Town, and on my first week on the job, my boss said to me, you guys, you must pack your bags. You're going to Lagos next week. You're going to start an e-commerce company in Lagos. And Kalahari had just pulled out, and we were going in, and 5 of us arrived there, and we ended up starting Kasur, which became Jumia, which is a Pan-African e-commerce company. And that experience, I was only there for 4 months, but it completely transformed my view of what was possible. And I also met my co-founder there. So it all came down to that one leap of faith that kind of set me on a new path.
Sure, Bradley. What a beautiful golden thread. So again, I love that energy of just do it. But also, Bradley, what I'm hearing you saying is that by seeing more of the continent, your realm of possibility just broadened. By seeing the opportunity to solve more problems, suddenly what was possible just was so much bigger. And that's really, really exciting. And maybe, Chibet, as I come to you in Cape Town now, we know that on the continent there are many programs for young people, but what is it that really distinguishes Global Citizen, and really how does Global Citizen enable young people to really become the champions of solving for the problems that they find in their communities? Chibet, if you can hear us from Cape Town, I'm not sure if you're unmuted.
I can hear you.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Sorry about that. So yes, I was just saying it's really great to be here. This forum and this discussion is so important, and there's a theme here around the role that we each carry and the agency we've all been able to display by being exposed to certain things that actually hit us in a specific way. They mattered enough for us to want to do something more about it. And that's really the ethos of Global Citizen. It's about recognizing your agency and then knowing that you have a voice, and that voice is sufficient to say something, do something in the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because you are. And actually giving a damn and caring about how other people are faring. So I love how Bradley spoke about his journey through the continent, because when I think about the moments that inspired me the most was when I was exposed to different parts of the continent and recognizing the similarities and the nuances and having a deep appreciation for what makes us the same, but also the distinctions that leadership has played a role in. So, going to Kigali, for example, and seeing the role that the president there has done in terms of enabling it to be a leader in environmental sustainability, really thinking about the role of ethical leadership, which is one of the themes that AfriJam is centered on, and this notion of accountability, giving citizens the experience where they're using their agency, they're using their awareness, and then they're raising that and channeling it through some form of advocacy and holding leaders to account to what they should actually be doing. So that's really what we are, a movement of engaged citizens who are collectively raising their voices to end extreme poverty.
Chibet, I'm going to take the opportunity to paraphrase. When you say, I don't often get to say this on stage, so I'm going to say it because Chibet said it. It's important to give a damn and then to exercise your agency around that. And Chibet, as you say that, it's so enlightening to listen to you talking about how even through the leadership that we're seeing in parts of the continent, you've spoken about President Kagame, that it's actually a personal invitation to say, I can choose to be different. I can choose to be a different archetype of leader in my community and in my respective spaces, and really activating that agency, which is such an exciting concept right now. So I'm going to make my way back to Johannesburg now. I want to make my way all the way back. I feel like we've traveled the continent just in that first round of questions. So Kachi, we're back here. Let's talk about technology. Let's talk about digitalization. We know that digital tools, we know that technology has all had an impact on how people work and how people collaborate, how people connect. Has that been true for you? And if it has, how has it played out?
The most priciest part of traveling the continent is accommodation. So when I started as a travel blogger, I couldn't afford to travel. I wanted to go from Cape to Cairo, and there was no ways I could afford it. But then I had Facebook. So I went on social media and I planned out a route, and I went to random people and I said, hey, I'm going to be in your village. Can I sleep on your couch? Can I sleep on the floor? Do you have somewhere safe for me to sleep? And the reality is, I wanted to get into an industry where I did not have qualifications, but I also wanted to get into this industry on my terms. Tourism across this, or travel across this continent, as Africans, we are service providers, but we're just the help, really. We are not actively engaging and being part of this industry. But I wanted to be part of that solution, to say, how do we as Africans, because the reason why we have tourism in Africa is because everybody wants to come and experience us, our hospitality, our culture, our heritage. So digitalization has given me an opportunity to enter an industry on my terms to solve what I figured were the problems that we had. And how do we as Africans play a role in tourism? How do we, if I find myself in the middle of Nouakchott and I don't know where to go or what to do, and I'm learning French from a restaurant menu, how do I convince the first person that I meet to say, hey, if we walk around for the next couple of days, do you realize you're my tour guide? Do you realize this is a service you can actually offer to other people that come into your country? So digitalization has been that adventure, that journey for me.
Sure. And what I'm almost hearing you saying is that, you know, beyond it just being very important for you to see the continent, the opportunity to empower and to shift mindsets of others. I mean, I think I love your provocation about, let's think about the role of Africans in the tourism sector and why we're always the service providers, the help, as you put it, and how do we begin to change that? And I think that's incredibly, incredibly important. So, one of the people that are always expected to change things are angel investors, because angel investors ideally are going to unlock some investment to get ideas off the ground. So Monica, let's simplify and break it down. What is an angel investor, first and foremost, but also what thoughts might you have around young people who are looking to attract investment as a way of really either getting their ideas off the ground or scaling ideas that they're already active in?
So some facts, right? And on the African continent is that one of the hardest things to do for entrepreneurs who are trying to get an idea off the ground is to find someone to finance your business. It is very difficult to go into an established bank like your Nedbanks or Stanbic and say, look, I've got a pretty good idea. I think it's going to work. Will you give me 100,000 Rand? It's probably impossible, right? The point of an angel investor, this is where your angel investor comes in. And an angel really is somebody who is willing to use their own personal money to bank on an idea, sometimes using very small amounts, which angel investors have that flexibility to do that some larger organizations are unable to do because of high costs. Someone who comes in early stage, so before you perhaps have proved your concept, before you're profitable, before you have a whole load of customers, before you might even have premises, but just really banking on your ideas.
Recording stopped.
And so angel investors are actually really important in the scheme of entrepreneurship. And they could be even your parents or someone who actually believes in you, a mentor. So they come in different shapes and sizes and they're actually there. However, sometimes you have to think about it. Because they come in a bit early, they probably get a little bit more for their buck. But because it's so early and it's because before you are perhaps profitable, it is a good thing for you to hit an angel investor. And they may exit, as in they may leave your investment later on when you have a bigger, more structured type investment when you're perhaps earning a little bit more money. But in the life cycle of entrepreneurship, I think they're a very important part of the puzzle. I myself, as an individual, actually ran out of money in my second year of doing business and had to actually call on friends and family and do an angel round, basically. And they were then they later exited when I was able to then get money from either a bank or venture capital, who are just much more structured. But as you say, I think it's an interesting way to raise money. But there are many other ways, and hoping that we're going to see many more ways coming onto the African continent. We've all heard about crowdfunding. It's what we really need to be doing is speaking to our young entrepreneurs about coloring the business the right way in order to make it much more attractive for people who perhaps don't know your sector, don't really know your country, don't really understand the idea. So we should be really speaking to young entrepreneurs about how do you paint your business to look like it is scalable, like it is profitable, that it will actually work. And I think that's what we should be focusing on next in order for us to then attract investment, whether it's an angel, whether it's venture capital, whether it's private equity, which comes later on, or even bank financing.
You know, Monica, before we move on, you know, one of the most common things that you hear in the investment conversation is that investors, angel investors or venture capitalists, they oftentimes back the jockey and not so much the horse. So the idea that they want to invest in the person and not always necessarily investing in the idea. And if that's true, then Monica, for young Africans who are really looking to attract the attention of investors and angel investors, what do you think we need to be thinking about so that we are that jockey that investors actually want to put their money behind?
Yeah, I think really it's about training, really around letting people know that this is what you're trying to do is not a hobby. It actually has to be a business that works. You have to really understand it. And it's really training people to keep simple things like understand how you're making money or spending your money. Where is the little money you have going? Is this actually, do you really need this fancy office? Can you actually do it from, someone's room? Do you, really understanding your spend and really understanding, can this be a business? And really getting the support, because there are many things that investors would ask you for. They want to really understand the business and know that you understand the business as well. So I think it's really trying to support young entrepreneurs very early on to be doing the right things so that when you look like you're making money and then you're actually not, because when we look at your books and they actually are showing negatives, you can avoid all that very early by actually supporting young entrepreneurs very early about the key things that people would be looking for, that even then entrepreneurs should be looking for, to understand that this is a business which is scalable, which can actually be profitable and can attract some major investment.
Sure, I absolutely love that. And I think, Bradley, it's such a good way to segue into the conversation with you, because Monica talks about, you've got to paint your business and color your business so that it stands out in the community, so it really stands out for investors. I'm keen to understand how you and the team at Yoco, how are you guys differentiating yourself in the country, nationally, but also on the continent? What is this unique positioning that you're now tapping into to say, this is us, this is what we're capable of doing? And is it even for you attracting a lot of interest from other investors?
Yeah, thank you. I think, great sort of question. Maybe just to echo some of Monica's points and sort of contrast also the early stage of Yoco and how we had to raise money in the early days versus now. We did 3 seed rounds, which was really all friends and family, which took us through the first, 2-3 years of the business, and really got us to a point where we could show that we could sign up merchants at scale and actually turn profitable on a per merchant basis. So I think unit economics are really important at that early stage, and being able to show at least a path to being profitable on a per customer level. And I think that's where we started getting more into the venture capital space, where we could start to attract larger institutional capital. Now I think our positioning is, I guess we've refined it over the years, and we've got quite clear on what it is that we're trying to do within the broader ecosystem. And I think the big part of it is bringing merchants into the digital economy. And what we've seen is, in South Africa, you have at least 70 to 80% of adults have at least a debit card. So, people have cards, but less than 10% of businesses or traders are able to accept those cards. So there's 5 to 6 million traders out there who can't accept payments. We believe 1 million that are addressable today, and we're certainly on the journey of getting them a card terminal and making it accessible and easy for them to get to. And I think that's really our positioning. We're focused on enabling many of these merchants. We really just giving them the tools so that they can go out and trade and do commerce, which is what we feel everyone should have the right to participate in the economy. And this is what, the Yoko tools can actually allow you to do. So I think as we look to the continent now as well and expansion, it's a very similar, purpose and vision that we have. Although each market is very different. So, in South Africa, you have that card penetration story, which has really been the success of Yoko there. But on the rest of the continent, payments and digitalization are at different levels of development. And our role might be slightly different in some of these other markets, but at the core of it, it's about, getting merchants and consumers able to transact digitally and grow the economy in the process.
Yeah, that's an excellent trajectory that you've shared with us, Bradley, from your early investment rounds to the current positioning. But one of the things that's clear to me as we sit in this conversation is that even those investment relationships are a reflection of a collaboration. It is about collective buy-in into an idea that might work. And so, Chibet, as I come back to Cape Town, I go to you, I want to talk a little bit more around collaboration. How does Global Citizen collaborate with other organizations? And maybe you can give us a couple of examples of some of those collaborations.
Absolutely, and that's a brilliant question, Nozipo, because collaboration is really at the heart and center of what we do and how we're able to convene these incredible festivals and global stages to raise funds that would ultimately help us achieve our sustainable development goals that are aligned with the UN SDG model. So I love that during the introduction you made reference to that moment, that one time we all got to see Beyonce, because I think that's how the Mandela 100 festival was positioned, but really what we'd love for it to be positioned as was this really incredible moment that convened collaborators, corporates, philanthropists, NGOs, the artist community, and engaged citizens to come together around issues that we feel collectively are affecting us every day, issues that are creating gaps in society, inequalities that we'd like to see addressed, and divides. I mean, when we're talking about digitalization, it's thinking about how do we raise funds to, for example, bridge the digital divide. So just to get specific on that specific agenda, we, as we know, during the pandemic, have all had to really tune into the digital spaces. And on one hand, we're, I think, very fortunate to be living in an information age where technology has enabled so much, and it's brought about a lot of ease and convenience. I love that you alluded to the fact that you don't need to get to a plane anymore and go through the travel journey. You can simply just get a link and you're plugged in. But what about those children in the rural and remote areas? What about those communities that are so marginalized that, in essence, what the pandemic has done for them is it's exacerbated these inequalities? So what we really recognize is that we can't do it alone. And it really is an ecosystem. So everybody taking their part, everybody understanding that in order for us to end the cycles of poverty, we all have a role to play. So the private sector really serving as an engine for growth and bringing those profits towards purpose is what we go after, along with the philanthropists. We work with governments to understand how they're thinking about their policy reforms so that if they're not financial commitments, they must be policy announcements that will really move the needle in terms of what we're looking to achieve. The activists on the ground are like our eyes and ears, so we have a huge dependency on understanding those needs at the grassroots level and making sure that we're the conduit that is able to connect the corporates at the global stages and making sure it filters down through to the grassroots level. So we've worked with companies like Cisco, who made a commitment back in 2018 at the Mandela 100 Festival that they would empower 10 million people through their networking academy programs and courses. And to date, we're happy to report that 4.5 million people have gone through these courses. And that means exposure to the instructors, about 11,000 instructors and about 28,000 course hubs, that they're having to expose young people to specific skills where they can be trained on areas, the gaps that they need at a community level, the jobs for the future, so that in essence we're really using the power of private sector to empower people at the grassroots level, and thereby trying to bridge some of those digital divides in that way. So that's one example. Another area I think that we can all relate to is the power of telcos. So when we're talking about digitalization, it's obviously access to hardware, but it's also the software, the connectivity, the digital communication tools, and the cost of data. Affordability is a huge thing. So we've all had to up our data over the past year and a half, and what we've been working alongside the likes of Vodacom and Vodafone globally has been to try and zero-rate platforms, so that when we're asking global citizens, as our community of engaged citizens, to take action on our website, we're channeling you to a place where we're not asking you for the extra burden of using your data. We want to make sure that you have the basic right to information and that you can learn about the issue areas, use your agency to then take action without having to think about, oh, do I need to go to an internet cafe to make this possible? So Vodacom, through their commitment, have enabled 95,000 people in rural communities because of boosting the fiber connectivity in those areas and introducing 5G technologies in the hardest to reach places. So those are some of the ways in which collaborations have really effectively helped us. And from an activist perspective, the NGOs on the ground have really equally empowered us to think about what are the critical needs, what are those nuances. I loved what Kachi said, that the service delivery is possible from an individual level to an institution level. So, for example, we have Wanjiru, Wawera Njiru, rather, one of our Kenyan activists who we enabled with a $250,000 Youth Leadership Award prize. That was the prize money she received through that award, and she's been able to use that to create a solution that enables primary school children in public schools to get access to food. So over the lunch hour, kids are not going hungry because she's used fintech to create this this wristwatch that you literally just tap and it gives you, it enables you to get a meal, which she's then been able to harness the power of technology, but utilize the power of collaboration and fundraising efforts at scale to make that possible. So these are some of the ways in which we really rely on the full ecosystem to understand the needs, but more importantly, to mobilize the funds towards those specific needs.
I think those are all really great examples of collaboration in play. I love how you talk about being the conduit, and one also would hear being the conduit, being the connector within the ecosystem, which is really, really powerful. So we've got some great questions that have come through from our audience, and I just want to squeeze some of these in. There's a question from Mlungisi Zuma for you, Kachi, and Mlungisi says, traveling in Africa for Africans is actually expensive. What do you think the role of good policy and infrastructure can play in making African travel quite accessible for Africans? When will we see easier cross-border travel and perhaps also get through the visa hurdles as an African traveling in Africa?
Oh, okay.
It's a thesis question.
Yes, it is. You know, the traveling as an African is expensive. It's not true. And I always say this. It isn't true. The reality is, going back to the previous answer that I gave you, there is not access to information.
Yeah.
Because you don't have access to information, you are only shown the big parks and the expensive places to stay and expensive things to do, because those places actually have marketing budgets to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you walked into a Maasai village in Kenya, they don't even have access to the internet most of the time. So now we have to work and use digital to give people that access to information. Now, when we talk about the traveling, air travel is expensive because of the taxes. Our governments need to actually start working together to deal with these taxes, because you actually realize that before the pandemic, I used to fly to Kenya every other month just to go watch rugby because it was $250 and I was okay with it. But then now the taxes are so high. Yeah. It makes it rather difficult, because if I have to now fly to Kenya, it's 12,000 Rand for a flight.
Sure.
Return. What money am I going to spend?
Yeah. So the disincentives become so much greater, and we've got to have courageous conversations about that. And I'm jumping in because I've got a quick second follow-up question that's been put to you from Shavanya Sky Naidu. And Shavana says, traveling the continent and the globe is one of my biggest dreams, but I've always been told that traveling solo as a woman is not a good idea. How do you find the courage and ensure that you will be safe on your travels as a woman?
Oh, I love this question. Thank you so much. So the one thing that I always say to young women is just go. Just go. The one thing that I actually learned being alone on the continent, traveling everywhere, is when Africans see you as a woman alone, the first thing that they think is, we need to protect her, we need to help her, we need to get her there safe. And there's people everywhere that want to help you. I mean, I've had people go out of their way on their bus because they want to drop me off at the right place. People will follow up. People will phone people at the next destination where I'm going. So if you can just get up and say, I'm going to go, trust me, you'll be safe.
Just go.
Go.
Just go is what Kachi is saying. So, Monica, there's a question for you from Buhle Ghana. Buhle is saying, how do you know when to pivot your idea in order to attract investors? Also, is not getting investment an indication that your idea is not practical and is not needed?
No, not at all, actually. Some investors, maybe you're speaking to the wrong ones. Perhaps they don't like your sector. They do bigger deals. I mean, sometimes we speak to the wrong investors at the wrong time. It's actually trying to find the right investor at your stage of development. So as we talked about the angels, we talked about VC, particularly for early stage. Those are kind of the investors you need to be speaking about. And trust me, a lot of us, and I'm sure even Bradley has gone through a lot, we received a lot of no's, but we're still here today because there will be someone who understands and is willing to work with you to actually maybe tweak a few things to make it a profitable business. So I think and it's not personal, right? It's just the way investment is, that sometimes they just don't understand what you're going to do, particularly if you're women. Actually, I mean, not to harp on about being women, but I know a lot of times when women are doing particular businesses which are very intimate towards women, a lot of your male investors are like, I don't understand this, so I won't give you the money. But actually, it's a very good business because women actually spend a lot of money on certain types of investment. And if people bother to look, they would invest much more in women-run and managed businesses.
I love that. If we bother to look beyond the physical representation of the person, imagine what we'll find. A quick follow-up one for you, Monica, from Avumile Mkunu. Avumile says, and she quotes you, Monica says, there is something going on in my home country and I'm not a part of it, end quote. And goes on to say, what factors do you think kept you sensitized to African problems even when you were abroad? And I think it's such a brilliant question. Your thoughts on that, Monica?
Thank you so much for that. I think the thing is about always remaining relevant to where you come from. It's great to have this great international experience, but coming home, you actually get a culture shock, and you realize that actually maybe what you have learned over outside, that you could actually bring it back home and change a lot of things. You can skill other people, you can move the dial much quicker. But the thing about it is really having a passion for where you come from and changing our own situation. because actually nothing changes if we're going to expect someone else to change. And there are everyday problems that we understand better. We understand this is how we buy milk, this is how we shop, this is how, and so we should be able to come up with solutions for those sorts of problems because we understand who we are and our environment better. So really, really encouraging everyone who's listening today to actually, the problems are right in front of you. You have the solutions.
The problems are right in front of you. You have the solutions. Bradley, I've got a couple of questions. I'm hoping I can squeeze two to you. Jehan Chikte is saying, Bradley, how is your experience of being on the fellowship? So tell us a little bit about that, and how did the entrepreneurial program influence your journey?
Yeah, great question. I think at university, we were, encouraged to run businesses in groups as teams, and it was obviously quite tough to manage that, with university studies. But I think the team dynamics and working together in a team to bring something together was some of the best lessons that I could have got at the time, and really helped me as a young founder to forge the right relationships with my co-founders and understand that it takes a team to pull up a business. It's extremely challenging, the journey of entrepreneurship, and you really need peers around you. And the other part was mentorship. I learned a lot from my mentors that I got introduced to through the program, and they really helped me to, I guess, make the right decisions in life, which early on set me on a path, which was I'm still very grateful for. And I still refer back to a lot of the anecdotes and kind of wisdom that they shared with me. But I even work with some of them, to be honest, still today. But I'd say mentorship and working together in teams were two of the really foundational lessons that I got from the program.
Sure, it's a brilliant question, and as the questions are flying in, I've got 4 minutes left, so I'm really going to try and just try to work a little bit of magic. Bradley, I want to do a quick follow-up question for you. It's from Luke Mackey, and Luke says, it seems that there's a big correlation between success and taking risks. Would you agree with that statement, and if so, how did you overcome that feeling of resistance to take the risks that you did?
Yeah, I actually studied risk management, so it's quite ironic. But I think the point is, if you don't take risk, you won't get the upside. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have to deal with failure, and failure is always temporary in my experience. It's something that you fail, you work through, you learn, and you improve. And that's how you manage the downside. If things don't go well, get up again, learn from it, and try again. And it's that learning that's, I think, very important. Someone mentioned on the panel now around sort of being exposed to things, but also being in a mindset where you can actually reflect and learn and course adjust. And I think that's how I've at least felt, you can manage that risk of failure.
I love that. It's serendipitous that question landed there, Bradley. So we've got 3 minutes left, and I want to end it off in a fun way. So I'm going to put my panelists on the spot. This is what you guys have to do. You have to come up with a tweet, and the tweet needs to have 3 words in it. It needs to have collaboration, digitalization or digital, and then it's also got to have sustainable or sustainability. Guys, it's a tweet. It's not an executive summary. It's not a thesis. It's not anything like that. It's just a tweet. So I'm going to come to Kachi because she's been going first the entire time. We're not going to change it now. Kachi, what's your tweet for the evening?
Okay. Oh my goodness, no.
You got this. Let's go. The clock is ticking.
Okay. In my way to share more of Africa, I have used digitalization. I have used digital media to collaborate with fellow Africans to find ways to promote sustainable tourism.
I think that deserves a proper round of applause. That's really excellent. Chipet, let's come to Cape Town. Let's see if you can do one better. I just want 3 words. Those 3 words in your tweet. What's your tweet for the evening?
Together, we can achieve a sustainable future by collaborating through our digital platform, globalcitizen.org.
How clever. Elegantly done, but also cleverly done. Well done, Chebet. Let's go to Dublin. Bradley, your tweet.
The future is digital, and let's collaborate to make it sustainable.
Oh man, that is really good. Sure, Monica, you've got a tough one to pull off here. What's your tweet for the evening?
Big shoes. The new frontier is digital. Collaboration and sustainability is the way forward.
Collaboration
Hashtag AfriJam.
Hashtag AfriJam. Ladies and gentlemen, a massive thank you to my panelists. They've been absolutely exceptional. Thank you very much, Bradley. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Chebet. Thank you, Kachi. You've not only shared your personal stories, but you've shared your journey with us, and you've inputted so much in all of our audience that is listening in today. And thank you to you guys for your incredible questions that you sent through. It's really made for a really robust conversation. For me, Nozipho Shabalala, please invite me again next year. I really like this. It makes me feel so cool and young again. So thank you so much for having me, and I hope that you have excellent dialogues, excellent engagements as you continue with AfriJam. It's goodbye from me for now.
And we're back on the main stage, everyone. Thank you to Nozipho for that wonderful dialogue session. Are you guys feeling the heat?
No, listen, I am feeling the heat right now. Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Nozipho, and your incredible panel of speakers. We really learned so much. But if I had to summarize what stood out to me the most, I'd have to say, firstly, the importance of actually caring and giving a damn. Secondly, the idea of harnessing the power of digitalization and using technology and social media platforms to enter an industry in your own way, on your own terms, and being successful in that industry. And then thirdly, the importance of collaboration and the importance of being driven by a sense of purpose.
Well, I totally agree, Tepo. And keeping in the spirit of winning and collaborating, we hope you guys will tell us more about what you guys learned on our social media platforms. And remember to use our hashtags, hashtag create your experience, hashtag create your Africa, and hashtag AfriJam. Now, we also have 6 Take-A-Lot vouchers up for grabs. Now, these vouchers are worth 1,000 Rand each. And the first 3 will go to the people who are most engaged with us on the chats. So type away. I want to see those keyboard warriors. Give me wow, profound.
Great, amazing.
Exactly. And the 3 other prizes will go to the people who are most engaged with us on social media platforms. So again, use our hashtags. Hashtag create your experience, hashtag create your Africa, and hashtag AfriJam. And luckily for us, we already have some winners.
Ooh, speaking of which.
So drum roll, please. And the winners are, so these 3 people engaged the most with us on social media, and they're taking a lot home. So they're taking home 1,000 Rand vouchers from Take-A-Lot, and the winners are Moleboheng Lebo, A. Salukaza, and Modise Makena. Thank you guys for engaging with us, and I hope that inspires more of you guys to keep engaging. Keep using those hashtags and tell us what you guys think.
Right, Kwandi, thank you for that. But speaking about winnings, you know, we still have a whole investment challenge up for grabs.
Oh my gosh, there's more.
There's more. So guys, if you back your prediction skills, make sure to head right over to the Jamboree website, check out our finalists from the pitching challenge, and predict your top 3 winners in order to stand a chance to win unit trust from Allen Gray Limited up to the value of 5,000 rands.
Oh my gosh.
But there's more. There's definitely more. Keeping in the spirit of winning, up next we have something incredibly exciting, where you'll get a chance to win, and Kwandi, I will need a drum roll for this one.
Okay, another one, okay.
A brand new PlayStation 4.
Yes, you heard that correctly. You can win a brand new PlayStation 4 and you will not need to join any Instagram live for this one. All you need to do is join our AGEC challenge and participate, and you could walk away with this lovely prize. Now, Zetembe and Uzo.
Pume.
Lela.
What an incredible prize. Next, we have Rohid Oyaga, who's going to be explaining the details of the challenge in the next session. After that, we'll have a vote of thanks by the association director, followed by a performance, and then we're having a networking session, actually, and then a networking session, and then that's it, guys. The first day of AfriJam completely done.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. It went by so quickly. And I hope you guys had as much fun as we did. And if you did, because we know you did, tell us on social media. Use our hashtags and maybe you could win tomorrow. Now,
wait. After the address from Jalal, the Director of Association, please join us at the end and stay to enjoy some jams from our residential DJ for the day, Rama, who's going to be keeping us motivated and keeping us going. And we also want to remind those of you who didn't sign up for the tournament that you're more than welcome to please stay behind for the networking session afterwards, where you'll get an opportunity to engage and sort of interact with our program participants. And guys, that's it. The first day of AfriJam completely done. We're so excited to have been able to take you through this journey, and we can't wait to welcome you back tomorrow at 4 p.m. for day 2. But Kwandi, before we go, I think we need to fix what happened there by the green screen.
we need to tell the brave people first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we have some brave participants of the 30 seconds tournament. So if you were brave enough to describe a few words and guess a few answers, then please join the live room at 7:50 p.m. That's 10 to 8, and you can use the link that was emailed to you earlier today.
Perfect. Rama, can you please give us 1 or 2 beats, something like a piano, just for energy. Ready? Wait. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, I go. Thank you so much, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it. Please carry on having such fun with us and vibing out with us. Kwandi?
I have nothing else to say, but please use the hashtags.
Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. We're super excited. We hope you are too. And until tomorrow, we're out.
Hey everyone, good evening. It's myself, Rohida Jagia, and we're coming to you with the AGEC activity for AfriJam. So happy to have you with us tonight. I know that there's been lots of chatter about the exciting prizes you're seeing on screen. 3 lucky participants are going to, in the next few days, walk away with these amazing PS4s, these consoles, the gaming consoles that are available and up for grabs. So in this session, we're hoping to introduce all of you to what we feel is a really great activity, not just because the prizes are so amazing, but also because the activity is so amazing. It's actually a social networking or part social networking exercise combined with a critical conversations component. So many of you who enjoy speaking, who enjoy writing, who enjoy conversing with people, who enjoy mixing and mingling socially across the foundation's community, this exercise is going to be super fun for you, and especially if you have very strong viewpoints on social issues and critical social issues around entrepreneurship, around career planning, around futuristic development of the nation. This is going to be something that you would have a distinct interest in, so stay tuned and let's go. So this is an exercise in which you will be invited to collab with a few other program participants. So if you're a scholar, you'll get to form a group of 3 with another candidate fellow and with another fellow, and that's what we'll refer to as the trio group going forward. In a sense, we could call this a trio activity. And that's going to mean everyone listening in on this call, you are invited right now to register on the gaming network. And how you would do that, if you take a look at the bottom left of your screen right now, you'll come across the URL that you can hop to, which is entrepreneurshipchallenge, one word, .co.za. So visit the URL and you'll be asked to fill in a really short, simple, super quick, easy and clean set of registration fields. And some of the pointers I would mention in this, you would need to click the register now button. The URL I've also just mentioned, but beyond that, just make sure, as a quick hint, to keep your mailbox opened. Gmail is the preferred mailbox since there are no since mails seem to reach the mailbox of the Gmail domain pretty easily, but pretty much any email could work in general. So what you would want to do is keep your mailbox open as soon as you're registering, because you're going to receive a link from the site for verification purposes. And once you do, you'll be able to set a password, and that's it. You're done with your registration. With step 2, the interesting thing with this one is, as soon as you're done with registering on the site, we're going to invite you to download the app. And it is a mobile app, and depending on the type of handset and operating system that you're using, you could download the app either from the Play Store, so from Google Play, or from Apple with the App Store in mind. And as soon as you do, you should be able to log in to the gaming network via the mobile app. Or if you would like to, at the bottom left corner of your screen, you'll see the URL there, gamingnetwork.entrepreneurshipchallenge.co.za. Bearing in mind that the gaming network is South Africa's first social media network specifically built and engineered for entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial students, and entrepreneurials in general. With step 3 in mind, once you're inside the gaming network, one of the first things you're going to want to do is to go to click on My Profile. That'll be at the top right corner of your screen. And we've put an example of where you'll be taken to. Consequently, we see here Aretha has completed, has given us a quick snapshot of her profile on it. And that's what a profile on the gaming network looks like. It has some of your personal info, so you'll be able to toggle your privacy settings. You'll be able to write a bit about yourself. You'll be able to select different types of business interests. You'll be able to upload some of your photos. Importantly, there at the bottom right corner, you'll be able to select from one of 6 or 7 different types of entrepreneurial journeys that most participants are on. And importantly, what I would mention here is you'll see these little purple circles that I've drawn on screen. It's around these little pen icons that you will see. Make sure to click those icons, because once you do, there's a whole pop-up that appears giving you an array of choices to select from. So for example, if for the first purple circle on your screen, you click on it to select 3 of your top business interests, you'll be able to select from a whole list of varying business fields that you would like to start up in, including the clothing industry, of footwear and accessory design services, actuarial and consulting services, automotive and mechanical services, business coaching and motivational speaking services, or non-profit establishment in healthcare, education, and human rights. There's a whole plethora of them. Another example is fields of study. So if you click on that little pen, a very different pop-up will be listed. And you'll be able to choose from a whole array of different BComs or BAs or BScs, many other different qualification types that you currently have studied for, that you currently are studying, that you previously have studied for, that you currently are studying, or that you intend on studying in the future. And importantly, the last one will be your entrepreneurial competencies. So these are the competencies that it's almost like an entrepreneurial calculator. So if you click on that particular pen, you'll be taken to a pop-up that will assess and predict for you of the 14 different entrepreneurial competencies, which are the 3 that seem to make you uniquely entrepreneurial. So give it a go. It's super fun and super easy to use. So with this, we come to step 4. And with step 4, after you complete your profiles, the the idea is to connect. And with the connection, it's a great opportunity. For instance, many of you may have come across some very interesting participants, but from a very different participant group other than to your own. So if you've ever wanted to connect with a fellow or a candidate fellow or a scholar that you haven't yet been introduced to, then this is your golden opportunity to do so. So do make the most of it. And with finding those partners, there are a few ways in which you can attempt to do that. So one, if you actually have certain group members in mind, from other parts of the community that you would like to collab with, then reach out to them directly. Alternatively, on your screen here, you can try and search for them on the gaming network itself. So there's the search bar right at the top, circled out here at the top right corner, and you can make use of that to locate them. Just bear in mind that the trio activity requires for each group to have one scholar in it, one candidate fellow in it, and one fellow in it. And with that also, besides your other group members, once you find them, you're going to want to add them as your connections in the gaming network. And besides the members of your own group, you may want to also consider adding as many scholars and fellows and candidate fellows as you know online. And why is because the more connections you have, the more people that are going to receive your feed, so the content that you post in your blogs, and we'll come to that a little bit later. And the more people that are your connections, the more reactions and upvotes you can get. So the more people you add is probably a direct predictor of how many reactions you're going to receive when you post your blog a bit later on. With step 5, you're going to want to click on and you're going to want to access AGEC's online communities, which you can do by clicking this button here at the bottom right corner called Spaces. With Spaces, you'll be able to access all of the communities online for a very set number of purposes, and we'll turn our attention to that now in step 6. Before we get to step 6 also, it's important to consider that in case you're unable to find them, you may want to log on to Spaces and consider posting a message there in case there are other groups that are not fully formed yet that are searching for members of their own. With step 6, it's also important to bear in mind that once you have formed the group, the immediate next step is going to be to set up a call with them. So with this type of a call, it's a particularly short one, and it's meant to be no more than 30 minutes of conversation time. And you can arrange that directly via the gaming network. You can message your group members once you've found them and you've formed the group and you've given your group a particularly snazzy name. And once you guys decide to connect, you can actually do so for the purpose of this call via Zoom or via Skype or via MS Teams or in any particular way that the group chooses. Even a WhatsApp call would suffice. And this is a quick screenshot of the Spaces platform where you're able to do exactly what we've spoken to in steps 5 and 6. So once you access Spaces on the gaming network, you can search for the AfriJam group. You can scroll through posts to see if there are any other members looking to connect or looking for additional group members. You can post your own messages if you yourself need to form a group or to find members in it. You can also consider creating a private space just for yourself and for your team members, so for the 3 of you to communicate via it. And once all 3 members have been identified and added to a separate group, that's when you would proceed with the group call. And now we're going to step towards and think about a quick overview of all of the steps that we've spoken to before getting on to what is it that you need to be discussing over the call. So as a quick overview of what you should consider, there are 3 important conversations over the group call that need to happen. And these conversations will happen in pairs of 2. So the first conversation will happen between 2 people. There will be a second conversation that happens over the call between another 2 people. And there'll be a third conversation that happens between yet another pair. And we've referred to these as conversations A, B, and C, and they will happen in that particular sequence. So in the conversation A, it will be between the scholar of the group and the fellow of the group, where the scholar asks the fellow a particular question. They will listen to the response of the fellow, and then the scholar will note down what is it that they're hearing in response. And based on that conversation, the scholar will create their very own blog post with a minimum of 300 words describing the results of the conversation in their own words and pretty much speaking to their own take and their perspective on that conversation. The question that the scholar will need to ask the fellow in conversation A is as follows. Dear fellow, think back to 15 years ago. Think back to your former high school self. When you visualize the high school version of yourself, what advice would you give them now in hindsight that would have served your former self well in those years, and why? Why that advice? What was the story? What was the context? So that's pretty much conversation A. Similarly with conversation B, this will be a conversation that the fellow asks the candidate fellow in the group to respond to. And very similarly, the fellow would listen to the response, they would note down what they're hearing, and then they would go on to use the notes that they've made to create a written blog post on the gaming network on their very own timeline with a minimum of 300 words, describing the conversation in their own words and providing their perspective or their take on the conversation. Here's the question that would be staged to the candidate fellow. Dear candidate fellow, could you think about a case where you've ever seen a learner complete maybe a BA degree in literature at varsity, but then interestingly they went on to work in investment banking thereafter, or maybe another learner who completed a mechanical engineering qualification at varsity, but then they went on to work in a social investment program thereafter. Why do you personally feel this phenomenon is observed this widely, wherein differences between one's choice of study and their choice of work seems to emerge? Which factors play a role in this phenomenon? Are you perhaps personally comfortable with this? Or do you feel this was maybe a good thing, maybe not such a good thing? And why? That would constitute the question that the candidate fellow would be expected to respond to in their 10 minutes of the 30-minute call. And that would be succeeded by the third conversation. And this third conversation, importantly, would take place between the candidate fellow and the scholar in the group. Very similarly, the candidate fellow would ask the question, listen to the response, make their own notes, and then create their own written blog post on their own timeline on the gaming network, minimum 300 words, describing the conversation in their very own words, providing their perspective and their take on it. And the question for the scholar would be, dear scholar, I'd like you to think forward to your future self 15 years from now. When you try to visualize this futuristic version of yourself, what do you see? Are they working, or is your future self running their own enterprise? What type of role or industry is your future self operating in? And why do you think this is the picture that's coming to mind for you now? And that's it. Those are the three conversations, those are the types of notes, and after listening to each respondent, each person, each of the three group members logs back onto the gaming network and goes to their timeline and creates a blog post so that their network connections can see it and react to it. This effectively becomes the first criteria for your group to participate in the AGC activity, wherein each partner, A, B, and C, must have posted a minimum of 300 words each on the timelines via the gaming network. So with that, it's interesting to note an example perhaps around what a blog post could look like. So this is an example on screen of a fellow who's interviewed a scholar in this example, and this is just a structural example. Your very own wording can vary, and it could be as long as you would like it to be. So here's the example, and here's how it goes. So the fellow says, shout out to my newly found connections, hashtag name A and hashtag name B. Had an insightful conversation with them yesterday when we formed the group, and they've given the group the name Team Game Changers. Really hoping I do justice to the narrative that emerged therein. I got to interview partner A, who's the scholar in our group, whilst they were visualizing their future self 10 to 15 years from now. Here's how they described this future vision, and they go on to write about that response. Beyond that, I see that the fellow also speaks to their perspective on the response. So they write, I thought their plans for the future, including their alternative career plan, was ambitious, interesting, and exciting. I myself am highly entrepreneurial and feel strongly about the need for this kind of work to grow in South Africa. So I walked away feeling inspired by their vision and thoroughly enjoyed the interview. Though from my side, I sensed that with this kind of ambition combined with a qualification of that type, there can be so many other paths that could be explored. I almost got the sense that the world would be their oyster in a way someday whilst listening to their narrative. Thank you, Partner A and Partner B, for sharing so much info with me today. For the rest of the story, make sure to check out the posts on their timelines too. So that's a really quick example of what a blog post would look like. And here are some of the quick pointers to accompany it. One, your group would need to produce a total of 3 blog posts on the gaming network, 1 from each person and 1 on each person's timeline based on the conversations in the group call. So each group member to make 1 blog post on their timeline so that reactions can start coming in from your friends. 2, you may want to leave enough time for the blog post to gather reactions before the closing date and time, which is 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. So we recommend that you leave at least half a day between the time that you post the blogs and the closing time of 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. Thirdly, the post with the highest number of collective reactions wins this challenge. And each of the 3 group members of the winning group will receive the PlayStations 4. So the scholar, the candidate fellow, and the fellow, each member of the winning group will receive a PS4. And what that simply means is that if each group member receives 30 reactions on each of their timelines, then collectively the total group set of reactions would be 30 plus 30 plus 30, which is the group of 90 reactions, and that's your group count effectively. And that is what that's what groups will be competing against. As a last step, just remember when you're claiming your prizes, or when you're trying to submit your participation, you would need to do so via, very specifically, the candidate fellow in the group. So specifically, this member must take screenshots of all 3 blog posts, very clearly showing the number of reactions that each blog has gained, and then email those 3 screenshots to info@entrepreneurshipchallenge.co.za before the cutoff time of 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. And with that, we come to criteria 2. So we've just spoken about this particular criteria. That is criteria 2, where the candidate fellow in the group will send through a single email to the email address to claim prizes for themselves and their friends, in other words, to participate. And we will check out the number of reactions that each of the members have received, and we'll tally them up, and the group with the highest number of reactions will be the winning group and will win the prizes. When sending that email through, remember, the other 2 partners must be copied into the email, so CC them in, and in the email, screenshots of all blog posts should be attached quite clearly, showing each partner's name, the number of reactions, likes, and interactions gained. With the third criteria, it's important to note it is a social networking challenge, so you're going to want to try and to get each blog post to the highest number of likes and interactions possible, bearing in mind, importantly, that comments don't count. It is purely reactions. You can comment, everyone is welcome to comment, and it's pretty much encouraged, but they do not count towards the reaction count. The number of likes on each blog post is vital and needs to be visible in the screenshots. Your combined number of reactions will be your total for the prize entry. And here's an example of a screenshot. So you'll see the name of the person at the top. They posted it 18 hours ago. You'll see the title of it. If you click on it, it will expand to the full blog post, but this is the summarized version. You'll see the number of reactions. They've got quite a few hearts, quite a few clicks, quite a few claps, at 18 in total. So this person's individual blog post has gained 18 reactions, and that would count in this case towards the group count. The fourth criteria, or a fourth criteria, the email must state the full names and the contact details for each of the partners, together with the type of participant allocated to each one. So if you're a fellow, your full name should be stated. And for the candidate fellow in the group, you would allocate their name to the candidate fellow participant group, and for the third participant, you would list them being as a scholar together with their name and contact details. And their contact details should include their cell number as well as their email addresses. For the scholar member in the group, their grade and school name should also be included in the mail. The fifth criteria when submitting this, all profiles must be made public during the challenge and for the week to follow. So for the scholar in particular, your grade must be visible on your profile, though you can keep the rest of your information, like your email addresses and your contact numbers, etc., hidden. But with those minimum details, your networks should be able to view and read your blog post. Without that, they won't be able to pick it up, and hence they won't be able to read it. And without reading it, they're probably not going to upvote your blog posts. You can obviously change these privacy settings completely back to private or in any particular way you see fit once winners are announced on the last day of AfriJam. And importantly, remember again, the cutoff time and date is 10 a.m. on Saturday, 16th October. You'll need to send in your claim via the candidate fellow in your group, and that will be to info@entrepreneurshipchallenge.co.za. And importantly, not just to claim and not just to participate, but in case you have any questions or whether you would like to clarify any of the steps, or if you're confused about something, you're also welcome to reach out to the AGEC team at this particular email address for clarity. Also, to close off with, remember, you'll need to give back to your community and also to upvote via some reactions some of the blog posts that stand out for you. And these would be the blog posts of others, of your friends and the connections in your network online. So how would you do that? So when reacting to other posts online, think about the following statement before you react. Ask yourself a question that with regards to the post that you're reading, for any post that you may be reading, is the post engaging or relatable for you in any way? Are the viewpoints expressed therein coming across as bold and powerful and authentic, while styled in a manner that for some reason you find fun or engaging or humorous or inspiring in any particular way? And if so, you're going to want to pay close attention to what they've written, the actual story or the content. Then there's probably a lot of substance to that, and it's probably emerging with a lot of authenticity, and it's not seeming too generic. But beyond the what and the actual content or the point of the post, then think about how it's been written, not just what has been written, whether it's been particularly well written. And in any case, your reactions are all up to you at your own discretion. So those that you react to will stand a greater chance of winning. Comments don't count as reactions. Just bear that in mind. But for any post that stands out for you, feel free to comment on it directly. And bearing in mind that most teams would actually love to know your thoughts on the views that they would have by then expressed in their posts. That's from our side. All we can say is game on. May the best group win. And hope to see you guys very soon. Back to the host. Have a great evening and thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto screen Jalal Giyasi Razavi.
Dear friends, I feel truly honored and privileged to be tasked with closing out day one of our flagship event, AfriJam. My name is Jalal Giyasi Razavi, and I'm the director of the association program. For those of you that are not familiar with our structures, the association is essentially our alumni network. I call it typically an alumni network on steroids. I'd like to start off by thanking and congratulating all the talent that have been involved in planning and organizing this special event. Specific mention must be made to Mr. Buhle Dlamini, the Fellowship Director, and his 2IC, our General, Nyakalo Merafe. I'm so excited and encouraged to see participants joining us from all across the globe. I know that we've had fellows dialing in from Hong Kong, Dubai, London to New York. A special thanks must also go out to our partner and sister entities that have joined us from across the African continent. We are truly privileged to have you all join us over these next few days. Day one touched on a topic that is very special and close to my heart: digitalization, digital disruption, digital transformation. And what a jam-packed day, excuse the pun, it was. We had the official kickoff by our always inspirational and motivational speaking CEO, Ms. Yogoveli Nambiar. Our keynote on digitalization by Kizito Okechukwu. A special tribute to our program participants that have passed on and that will forever remain in our minds and in our hearts. Masterclasses on topics ranging from AI, deepfakes, content creation, and more. We learned about New Frontier into Africa through our dialogue session, and I must say, Nozipo, you're welcome back anytime. One day when I'm big, I want to be like you. As well as then we finalized how the foundation is actually digitizing entrepreneurial mindset development through the AGEC game, and I'm sure many of you are going to try and win your share of those PS4s. It's incredible for us to learn how digitalization provides opportunities for disruption. AI, blockchain, renewable technologies, Internet of Things, cloud, these are all technologies that offer the potential to improve lives. I read a fantastic quote about learning, and I want to share that with you now. It's a very short quote. True learning is that which is conducive to the well-being of the world. There are many different types of learning, but true learning is that which is conducive to the well-being of the world. Today's proceedings are not quite done yet. I'm sure you guys have seen our resident DJ in-house, Rama, so stay tuned. Right after this closing, we will be having a very nice jam session. Tomorrow we have another exciting day lined up. Day two's theme, of course, being around collaboration. There's speaking, networking, panel discussions, the Alan Gray Investment Challenge, as well as a keynote on the theme of collaboration. We will round up the day. It is Friday, and on Friday we need to party. Friday will be a day around celebrating Africa, and we will have a concert to do so. Before I conclude for today, I want to use this opportunity to encourage you all to remain focused and committed to our collective purpose. Poverty, unemployment, and inequality are at the highest levels ever. And it is our collective responsibility to utilize the opportunities that we have been provided to make our continent a better place for all. We often hear that Africa's greatest assets lies in its soil, the minerals. There is no doubt that you are our continent's greatest asset. Whether you are a student, an entrepreneur, or are pursuing a career in corporate, you have the privilege and the responsibility to stand up and make a difference in our society. Remember, you are not alone. We, as your family, are right beside you every step of the way. Honored guests, it's truly been a privilege to close out today's session. I must send a special thank you as well to our incredibly talented MCs. Guys, we need to find some way of digitalizing that energy of yours for future use. Thank you so much. We really appreciate everything you've done today. And I just want to welcome you all to join us. Those of you that have access to the platform and on YouTube, you can actually scroll back to any session that's happened during the day. You can go and view any masterclass on our AfriJam catch-up site. So please do so. If you did miss anything today, you can catch up. That's it from me, yours in the spirit of entrepreneurship. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto screen Ramahala Rapalani.
needing, keep calling, even from a shut door. When you step from view, can still see you. Your shadow tells me more. Don't take your love away, your love away. Don't take your love away, your love away.
Why don't you let that rain fall on you? Let that rain fall on you. You gotta, you need to, you wanna, you got to, you need to let it fall, let it, you need to let it, you need to let it fall, let it, you need to, you got to, you want it, you need it, you got to let it fall. Let me tell you that trouble don't last always. Trouble don't last always. You need to let it. You need to let it. Yeah. You got to let it. Woo. You need to let it. Yeah. Let it rain. You need to let it rain. Let it rain on you. Need to rain on you. Trouble don't last. Trouble don't last. Trouble don't last always. No. I said no, no. But you got to let the rain fall on you. Let that rain fall on you. Woo. When it rains, it pours, but it makes you feel better. Nah. So when it rains, it pours, but I tell you, it'll feel better. So much better.
Take me to my love. Been waiting on him long enough. My hand out to him, lead me to the bay.